I've been conducting a lot of workshops lately with students just graduating from college and university training programs. What I've discovered is that there are many students who've been given bad advice about their acting in film and television. I need to share with you some of the bad advice and fix this. Bad advice coming up on today's episode of Casting Actors Cast.
It's time for another episode of Casting Actors Cast, insights for actors from a casting director. Here he is, your host, Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm a casting partner with Pat McCorkle at McCorkle Casting in New York City. How are you? So glad that you're joining us today, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you the 5 bad advice tips that I've got and how to correct them. So those are coming up in just a moment. But first, this is that moment of the podcast where I get to say thank you so much for tuning into Casting Actors Cast. There's a lot of exciting things happening on the podcast, and I am excited to share a lot of them with you, and I can do some of that today. But first and foremost, if you haven't done so already, I invite you to please go check out the website, castingactorscast, all one word.com, castingactorscast.com, and there's a form there that says dive into the talent pool. If you do that, it's going to open up some freebies for you. One is a book on doing voiceover work. It's a 100-page PDF. You can simply download it or print it out, whatever you want to do, and that's absolutely free. The other is a free video called Casting Secrets, What They Don't Tell You. But I'm going to tell you if you just simply check out the website. Also at the website, I'm really excited because Creative Coaching Partners have requested that I put together a course on auditioning. And so the Art of the Audition is a course that I am teaching. You'll find it on a link on the landing page of the website, or you could simply Google Creative Coaching Partners and see all of the offerings they have available. So if you're interested in getting more in-depth knowledge about how to audition so that you can feel more comfortable and confident, I ask that you kind of check it out. It is a paid course, by the way. It's very reasonably priced. I think of it more like 1/10 of a decent acting class. So next up is something I'm really excited about. The Broadway Podcast Network has invited me to join them. So my episodes are going to be airing on the Broadway Podcast Network. What does that mean to you? That means wherever you get your podcasts, when you click on it, it's going to take you to the Broadway Podcast Network area of Casting Actors Cast. It's a really cool association. I think it's going to be really awesome because it's targeted towards the right audience, I think. And this is a very recent development, and I'm really, really excited about that. And then finally, my shout out to my good friends at Actors Connection. Hello to Colleen and Tony, actorsconnection.com/New York for online classes and workshops, all kind of things cool things going on there. So, gosh, lots to talk about. Let's move into the subject, though. That's the most important thing. That's why you tuned in the first place. By the way, if you like what you hear at the end of this podcast, would you please consider giving me a thumbs up or a like? Perhaps even a review on Apple iTunes would be so incredibly helpful. I love doing these podcasts, but I'm only going to continue doing them if I know that there's an audience out there who appreciates the effort I'm putting into this, because it's kind of a lot of work, but I promise you, it is a labor of love. All right, let's jump into this bad advice. I've got 5 things that I have heard from students that they have gotten from faculty members, teachers, instructors. And so I'm going to talk about each one of these pieces of advice, and then hopefully I'm going to offer some ideas and some suggestions on how to deal with it. So how many have these pieces of bad advice have you heard? So bad advice number 1. Have you ever heard somebody, a director or a teacher say, "Oh, it's really easy to act on camera. All you need to do is bring it down, make it smaller." You know, well-meaning instructors use this note thinking it's an easy fix for those actors who might be theatrically trained actors. It's a way that can reduce the larger-than-life acting choices to fit into the two-dimensional frame of film or television. But guess what? This is bad advice. Why? Well, first of all, you tell me. How does one bring it down? What does that actually mean? How does one make it smaller? What does that mean? See, it makes no sense. And so when you hear that advice, I think it's well-meaning, like I said, but it is simply not helpful. If you really analyze what that means, you'll come up empty-handed, because even an analytical brain has no clue what bring it down, make it smaller actually means. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. So here's the solution. It's what I call the palm method. And it's really easy. This is especially useful for a Zoom audition, for example, or if you're doing a self-tape. And that is to hold your outstretched arm and look into the palm of your hand. In other words, inverse the palm of your hand upward and look right into the palm of your hand. Aim it towards the lens of the camera. Now move that palm 6 to 8 inches away from the lens of the camera. Now look into the palm. Right there in your palm is the significant other in your scene. In essence, that is where your scene partner is in your scene. If your energy and your focus and your concentration is simply right there to the palm of your hand and you're truthful with that, that kind of connection with the other will help you keep it conversational, will help you keep it truthful. And so use the palm method. That means you won't feel like you have to fill the space with your voice. That means that the person you're talking to is 18 inches from your face right there. And I love the idea of that because you don't have to change the way you act. You use all of that same training that you know so well in terms of character, intention, emotional place that the character is in, but now you're applying it to a very specific person in a very specific locale, which is like right in front of your face. So I think that that's useful advice, and you're welcome. All right, let's move on from there. The bad advice that I have heard. Bad advice number 2, don't blink. Have you heard that? Yeah, I had this happen a couple of weeks ago where the actor just didn't blink, and I'm watching them do this monologue, and I'm like, I'm just going to ask you that you didn't blink. And the person says, I was told I shouldn't blink. And I was like, who told you? Because I want to have a chat. I think it's also ever since the How to Act on Camera video that Sir Michael Caine came out with several years ago. I don't even recall how old the video is, but he gives several on-camera acting tips. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know. And one of those tips that he gives you is to not blink during an intense scene, for example. I think that there have been teachers sharing this little no blink nugget for quite some time now. And you know what I think? I think it's a nugget of weird. Listen, humans blink. It's a natural function of being human. Staring at the other actor is, well, frankly, it's unnatural, and it does not make for a captivating scene. So that no blink thing, let go of that. But I will say that there are times when your character might be so emotionally charged that there are truthful reasons to demonstrate intensity where you might not blink. But that is a very specific choice. It's really there to showing the truth of that specific moment. But to not blink during an entire scene, I have to push back on that. There's nothing natural or normal. There's nothing naturalistic or useful for the actor. Because why? Think about it. If you're purposely trying not to blink, you're not in the moment. You're simply there telling yourself, don't blink, don't blink. Whatever you do, don't blink. And so how are you able to deliver a truthful scene? It makes no sense. Okay, gosh, I'm on a roll, right? Let's move on. Bad advice number 3. You've been told it's all about the eyes, the window to the soul. Have you been told that? Have you been told that by a teacher or a director? It's all in your eyes. Just make sure it's all in your eyes. Now, this is often said to keep the actor conscious of where they're looking in order to keep the talent from moving. It's not that the eyes are unimportant, by the way. They are. Of course they are. But the actor needs to know that the eyes are attached to a brain. It's what you're thinking. It's how you process what you are hearing in the moment. It's you reacting to the other character with your thought through your eyes. That is the actual advice to embrace. It's not just about the eyes. It's about the eyes processing information through that emotional lens of your character. All right, I just want to take a moment and tell you I've just made you all a lot of money right now. And if you follow those 3 pieces of advice, I promise you it's going to make a difference in your acting when you've got a film and television opportunity. Okay, but let's move on because I got 2 more for you. Bad advice number 4, ignore the camera. Pretend it's not there. You know, that advice is usually said to keep the talent from feeling like they're being watched or observed or being judged. It's like a sage piece of advice so you can do your best. Well, you know what? I think reality is better suited for today's modern actor. Awareness of the camera is really important to your technique as an actor. After all, the audience needs to see you. Not giving the camera importance is the answer. Yes, it's there. Yes, you know what the shot looks like, but you are not giving it more importance than that. So awareness of the camera is really, really helpful. You certainly know how to cheat in or out of the moment or the scene because you are aware of where that camera is. It just simply makes sense. It's not like pretend it's not there. That makes 0 sense because you will always be reminded that you're not supposed to think that the camera is there. I mean, it just like takes you out of so much useful information about your acting. So don't do that. Know where the camera is. Know how the shot is set up so that you can do your work incorporating all of the environmental elements that are in front of you. Ooh, good. Nice phrase, right? Environmental elements. Okay, come on. That's the first time you've heard that today. Come on. All right, bad advice number 5. The bad advice is listening to the person who says, how did that feel? You know, you do a scene or you do a monologue and the director or the teacher, whoever, says, how did that feel? After they've given you a note and then you try doing the notes, doing the scene again. Let's do it this way. And you do the scene and then the director, how did that feel? You know what? It took me a long time, but this is so self-destructive. Why? Well, think about it. When somebody in authority says, how did it feel? It simply reinforces watching yourself while acting. In other words, it's conditioning that third eye that is always observing what we are doing while we are doing it. And because it's being reinforced, you're now stuck in a situation where you are constantly watching yourself. Getting lost in the truth of the moment is the goal, not evaluating how you are doing the scene during the scene. All right. Have you been told any of possibly all of these pieces of information? Have you been given this advice? Have you found it frustrating when you're given direction that doesn't connect with the way you feel the scene needs to go? Well, now you know a few of these bad habit tidbits. It's important to not listen to every piece of advice when it comes to on-camera acting, but to evaluate it through the filter of, common sense, practicality, and your own emotional well-being. Make smart, interesting choices. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach. You've been watching and listening Casting Actors Cast. Check me out on YouTube, if you will. It's the Casting Actors Cast channel. I look forward to seeing you next time on Casting Actors Cast.
Thank you for joining Casting Actors Cast. I'm Megan Grace Martinez.